this.
Yeah, we do have to get close to the microphones.
Apparently been some fixes, but we'll see.
I don't believe you.
Testing.
True.
Is it good? Okay. I'll bring this meeting to order. Ms. Crawford, would you like to take roll?
Sure. Ms. Knapp? Here. Mr. Engel?
Here.
Mrs. Faust?
Okay, next we'll do allegiance. Okay, first on the agenda, we have public comment. Are there any comments from the public? Okay. Next, we have general announcements. Does anybody have any general announcement?
I know it's normally me. Our business appreciation breakfast is next Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. Our registrations, RSVPs are closed at this point, but we're excited for everybody that has RSVP'd, and we're looking forward to the event.
Is it full?
We have
get-
75 people signed up
Okay.
at this point, and I think we could fit, we're.
Just under 100 is like the sweet spot, so got a good turnout.
Excellent. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay. Any other announcements? No? Okay, next we have, are we doing active transportation plan?
Yes.
Okay, next we're going to have a presentation on the active transportation plan from Mr. Bowers.
I'm gonna stand next to him, but I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, text to Mark.
Is this microphone going to work if I have it up here? Do we know?
Should have said so.
Okay, well, let's put it right there. It'll work. We just got this up. All right, so on the screens here before you tonight is our long-awaited active transportation plan. The slides that we have are just kind of a snippet of the much larger document, which I know everybody's had a chance to review over the past few months. Just kind of a snapshot of this program. It's been about a 14, 15-month process to get to where we are today. All of this kind of started, the genesis of the whole project is when our township with Robin specifically was awarded a grant from ODOT to pursue this active transportation project. It's allowing us to identify all kinds of existing and future improvements that we can make for human-powered transportation that doesn't obviously involve vehicles. So with that, a bunch of thank yous should go out, and I won't go through everybody per name, but the process, on top of all the township staff, there's multiple neighboring agencies that participated in the project. Different cities, libraries, ODOT, HOAs, community residents. We're extremely grateful for the time everybody put into this. Our consulting team from Tool Design and Burton Planning Services have been engaged with this process, and their dedication to get us from day one to where we are today should definitely be commended as well. And it was a pleasure working with all of them. And with that being said, jump into some of the process we went through. So one of the first things that Tool Design and Burton Planning Services laid out was a little bit of a timeline of how we're going to get from where we wanted to be, or where we want to be at the end, and where we started from. So started with the visions and the goals, made our way to existing infrastructure of what we currently have, and then eventually we worked into a prioritization and implementation process and kind of a view for the future. Going through the initial engagement processes, we tried to use, or I guess they more tried to use, multiple mechanisms to gather input from the community and from our neighboring entities as a whole. The different engagement things they went through with our stakeholder meetings, our multiple surveys, the pop-up events, and some of the community meetings really helped shape all of the different prioritizations, all the different possibilities that were identified throughout the project. On the next slide is just an example of one of the many maps that they came up with. This particular map is an example of one of the proposed plans for pedestrian and shared use network prioritization. There was a pedestrian component, a bikeway component. This is just one of the multiple maps that you'll see within the active transportation plan, and highlights low level, high level, existing, future. There's even some maps for some non-township projects that are out there that we would be more of an advisory role or support role of. So they did a very thorough job of identifying what we have and what we could have at the end of the day. On the next slide, some photos and some descriptions that you can find more info on in the entirety of the plan. But we had multiple steering committee meetings that again included a lot of the aforementioned entities that I mentioned earlier. Those steering committees had really varying levels of interest, from HOAs to ODOT representatives to obviously some of our elected officials and township staff. So it really provided a very comprehensive look of all the different angles and viewpoints that exist throughout the township. Tool Design and Burton Planning also conducted online surveys, as well as a mapping survey as well. The online surveys generated about 411 responses, which obviously is a good indication. And there's a map here that'll pop up here shortly that shows that those surveys were generated from all different parts of the township. On the next slide is just an example of some of the survey responses and some of the questions that were asked and answers that were identified from the results of that web survey. Why people use these trails and paths, and what some of the intent and what some of the visions and sorry, not the visions, what some of the focus should be for the township as we move forward. The second survey they did was a web map format survey that gathered input about the draft infrastructure recommendations that Tool and Burton Planning Services were proposing. That generated just under 200 responses. And the following slide there, Andrew, if you could. That shows some of the, this is a map of just kind of the areas that we receive surveys from. So as you see, there's kind of dots and placements from all over the township. It kind of shows a nice balanced representation for almost every area within the township. So my hope is everybody's had a chance to review it. I know it's a pretty lengthy document with a lot of information, a lot of demographic stuff, a lot of data, a lot of recommendations. I've had a chance to talk with Michelle and staff and a couple of our elected officials about it, but a lot of thanks goes to our staff that's involved and everybody who took time to read it and provide feedback on the recommendations and the survey results to get us to where we are. But this document will be a very valuable piece for us to combine with our recently approved Parks Master Plan as we chase grants and plan our future projects for trails and for parks and connectivity throughout the township, which has been identified with our Parks Master Plan as a really significant area of focus for us to pay attention to over the next 3, 5, 10 years and beyond.
Oh, no, that was well said. I guess the last point, I think of a big purpose of having a document like this is that it really helps us with our grant opportunities in the near future. We do have some grants that we plan on applying for probably in the coming weeks that we will, in hopes that this document's approved today, that we can use to support additional grant funding for our trail projects. I think overall the engagement strategy was really incredible. I think we really went, a virtual way and an in-person way. There was a lot of different opportunities to be engaged with this project. So whether that was via presentation or a hands-on experience when we were physically drawing on maps to identify the needs. So I think we're happy with it. We're happy that we were even selected as one of there were 6 communities in the entire state of Ohio that was awarded this grant. So really excited to not only have this plan, but to execute this in the near future.
So how many years will it take to implement the recommendations?
Probably as long as we'll be here. It's a long-range plan, but there are some it does categorize it with short-term goals that are achievable. Actually, the way the priorities are set up are already projects that are in the works, so that has been reflected. And I think this is a working document. I'd anticipate us to revisit this every few years just to make sure we're addressing the community needs, because with development changes too, that can impact some of these the trail location and the proposals with that. So I don't think this is set in stone, but I think the next 5 to 10 years, this is a pretty substantial document.
And is the bike trail is it east of Lyra Drive? Is that included in here? There's an extension.
Is that Columbus?
East of
I think it's on Powell Road.
It's on Powell Road on the other side of the bridge. There is not a high priority on that particular path project. That fits in the category. There's quite a few projects throughout the township that are kind of wish list ideas, if you will, or just kind of pie in the sky ideas that have significant challenges to get across. Obviously, the township is saddled with some pretty challenging infrastructure, whether it be railroads, lakes, rivers, major interstates, state highways to try to get across. That one in particular has a bridge deck over 71 that is a pretty significant challenge to sort out. So to kind of piggyback on what Michelle said, there's going to be some projects that were identified in this plan that are going to be probably easier to accomplish. There's going to be some that probably fall off because we find they're not feasible for whether it be funding or just the logistical setup of it. So there's going to be some working parts in the living document for the foreseeable future. So
Now, the one that goes to Lyra Drive, it extends almost to Lyra Drive? The one that will.
the one we're going to be working on at East Powell Road, yes,
Yeah.
that will connect to the existing, recently installed Lyra Drive extension.
Okay, so people will be able to, is there one along Lyra Drive?
Yes.
There's like, that's what it will connect to?
And so you'll be able to get from South Old State to Lyra. That's the chunk that is the goal to work on. But to go from Lyra over 71 to Bale Canyon,
much.
that's not really. So if you want to do that Ohio to Erie Trail, my understanding is you would go Orange to Bale Canyon, and eventually, once that's completed in the next couple years, and then go that way.
Some of these trails will involve some cooperation with other neighboring agencies, but I think everybody kind of has a similar goal and everybody's able to work together. But obviously, time and money dictate how quick and how frequently some of these projects will be done.
That's exciting.
Yeah, you guys put a ton of time and effort into this, and so thank you for all that, and for everybody who's from the community and staff and electeds and all of us who had a chance to review it. So I know lots and lots of back and forth happened to get it to the state. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And as we're developing out the plan, want to be sure that we're sharing with our residents where trails going in, where it's just been constructed. Because I think as people start to look at the map of the trail system that we're putting in place, we will be able to really connect almost all of our neighborhoods across a lot of challenging obstacles in the township. And I think it's sometimes it's a secret, but we want people to know that they can use all of these trails and get places that they might not have thought they'd be able to get to by bike or by jogging or running before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have,
Sorry, staff, we do have a full resolution.
oh, we're doing.
Starts. What's on the spot? Okay, sorry. Sorry, Ms. Knapp, there is a resolution.
Do I have to read it?
Just the type.
Just the title, right? I make a motion to approve resolution 24-037, authorizing the adoption of the Orange Township Active Transportation Plan.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. All right. Okay, next we have agenda changes. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I do have two. Under the fiscal officer report, we will be removing accounting services. And then under administration report, we will be removing the Veterans Memorial dedication, and just some background on that with needing some further discussions regarding the date. So hopefully to have an answer for that at the next meeting. We want to get together with the Veterans subcommittee meeting too to discuss that.
Any other changes? Okay.
Nope.
Next we have the consent agenda. Are there any questions on it?
I don't have any.
Nope.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-038, approving the electronic record of the proceedings from the regular trustee meeting held on January 17th, 2024.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Okay, I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-039, approving purchase orders, then and now purchase orders, and blanket purchase orders as listed.
Second?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Okay, next we have the development and zoning report.
Hi, good afternoon. Wanted to go through the upcoming cases on Board of Zoning Appeals agenda. We have 3 cases coming up That'll be at the February 15th meeting. The first one, this is for Orange Self-Storage over at 172 Orange Point Drive. The applicant is requesting 2 area variances for new wall signs to exceed 15 feet, which is the requirement. The next 2 cases are both from the same applicant. It'll be Pulte Homes requesting a variance and conditional use application, a conditional use for the model home being proposed, as well as the variance portion being it's less parking than what the code requires for a model home. So the code requires 12 total spaces for the model home, but only 9 are being provided. And just to clarify, the other portion of the request is for a second model home. So technically, these will be adjacent model homes, and the parking area will be servicing both of those.
Will there be 9 spots total or 9 spots for each,
It'll be 9 spots total.
for the 2 homes?
Correct. So
How
the
many
12
are
covers
required?
them.
Is it 6 each?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And let's see. I think we also have next month listed thus far an application for a swimming pool, and this will be by Omni Pools at the address 6965 Jennifer Ann Drive. The applicants are seeking area variance for the pool to encroach into the rear yard setback.
How many feet are they requesting?
I don't have that listed right here in front of me, but I believe it was a slight encroachment, I think several feet, but I don't have the specific number in front of me. And the last 2 items, really, we do not have any new information on either of these, but you would recall that there were 2 RCOD applications that we'd seen lately. So again, no new information to provide you guys with. I believe there's still some revisions that we're looking at for each. So when we get new updates, we will definitely pass those along.
For the orange self-storage, do you know how high those signs are and why they're asking for them?
Well, I know there was a monument sign associated, but I don't have specific, and I don't think we've been provided with specific details on sign sizes and heights and things like that. So,
The heights
yeah.
of the 2 signs are 23 feet and 23 feet, which is
Instead of the 15?
instead of 15.
And they're-
That's what they're asking.
are you?
Do you know why? Do you have any idea?
I
Because they've been there. They've been there for a while.
So they're building an expansion new
Okay.
building next to, I don't know if they acquired the property, but it's a new building, new size, and so they want that.
Yeah, I think this with our zoning changes too. I mean, having a maximum sign height of 15 has been a very common variance request to exceed that, because we allow building heights up to 35 feet and even up to 50 feet. So when you put a sign, in the bottom of your building, it just looks funky. So I'm gonna guess it's more for architectural purposes, because it would look funky if it's lower, but maybe in this case, it would cover the garage or the garage door itself. But
And I also meant to say, I misinterpreted that, that your question was pertaining to the upcoming storage. And I was referring to the one that had been tabled. So I'm sorry, I got confused about the storage discussion. But I am aware that there are some outbuildings on this site. And I think the applicant had indicated that the buildings along the periphery obstruct the views to the primary building in the middle. And that's why they were looking for the added height.
Okay.
And we haven't heard back from the RCD 2303, the more recent, the one on Parkway? As far as
I have not received any new information.
So once they give us new information, then we have 30 days to set a date. from
yeah,
that.
they have asked to, I guess, I'm trying to think of the wording. I waive the timing, so they were okay going outside of the 30-day window because they needed more
They had
time to.
Number of things that
Yes.
needed.
Yeah, they had to do some re-engineering. So as soon as we hear from them and they're ready to go, then it would be at the following trustee meeting to schedule that.
Did we have,
And you had one more item, yeah.
And then that's at the top of the next page, is a request for appointment of our opened spot for a BZA alternate. We have been in communication with Christopher Wellington. Christopher Wellington is a fairly recent resident of Orange Township, expressed interest and enthusiasm to become a member and fill this open role. So we're excited about that. Just a couple notes on him. He has a real estate and finance background, and presently he's working for one of the area commercial real estate firms. So I think he's familiar with this development realm, and we think he'd be a very good fit.
Sounds like it. Okay. All right, are there any questions? Okay, I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-040, appoint Chris Wellington as an alternate member to the Orange Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. And so that is the unexpired term, so we'll have to reappoint next year.
Yeah, because
Or
we
for
moved an alternate to as a regular member. Who was that?
Joe Pax.
Oh, Joe Pax, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Joe. Good, all right.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have operations report. Mr. Bowers?
Good afternoon, Board. While there are quite a few things in the operations report, I'm going to try to group a few of them together. Before I do that, I do want to circle back to the ATP. First of all, thank you guys for your support on that. But it would be very short-sighted of me not to thank those people who, elected officials and staff who built the existing infrastructure of the township as well. We're over 19 miles of multi-use trails in the township, which is really fascinating, and is, sorry, my mistake for not including those people earlier. They definitely deserve some kudos as well for getting the township to where they are with the existing trail network. So that being said, on operations report today, first thing is our annual curb and ramp improvements, just to approve the contract. I'd like to recommend approval of that as an annual thing we do. That'll update all of our curb and ramp and storm sewer structures that are in the way of our annual road improvement project, which will commence later this year. The curbs and ramps always get done usually in the spring, so if we get that approved now, we'll be up sooner, I guess, on the list, if you will, of getting that done, taken care of before the road work gets done. The next three items in the operations report all pertain to filling vacant positions, part-time public works labor, that should say, and then a full-time parks maintenance and facilities labor and a part-time parks maintenance and facilities labor. Also have an REA to get approved, recommend approval for Artesian Run. This would be a study of an intersection safety. We also have our annual mileage certification from ODOT that we reviewed with the county engineers. And again, this is another annual piece that's required of the township to do to update our mileage for the year. We also would like to recommend accepting a donation from Price Farms Organics for some compost and mulch for our community gardens. This is a project Dave Gilson, our assistant manager for Public Works, as well as our kind of temporary Alex fill-in, has been working on, but he got some items donated from Price Farms Organics through a little informal grant application that will help with our community gardens. And the last thing we have is a contract to perform some expected trail maintenance on East Orange Road down closer to Bale Canyon that we'd like to recommend approval for as well. And I can answer questions on any of those. I know it's a whole bunch of information at once.
So
That's false.
The curb reviews do the curb reviews first.
Correct.
Before we redo the roads.
Correct.
Okay. That was my clarification there. The Orange Road, is it, I walked down there, so is it like the brick?
Correct. Those retaining walls, there's three of them down there. Two of them are showing signs of failure. So instead of repairing those and constantly repairing those, we're going to take them out and regrade the hillside, working with Preservation Parks. Since they own the area to the north of that with the McCammon Creek Park, we're working with them to kind of ease that transition from the trail to their new park project. Correct. Yeah, correct. Unless they fall. Then they're not fun. It'll look like it does between the walls and past the walls, closer to Bale Canyon. I don't know the history of why those retaining walls went in. They exist in a couple spots, and there aren't any in a few spots. It'll look very seamless all the way down the road once we get done with this first phase of it.
Yeah.
They look nice. They're aesthetically pleasing. They're a little nicer than a low-mow or no-mow mix of weeds and grass, but they do require maintenance, and it can be costly. It's just more of a permanent solution, so we're not revisiting it in 5-10 years again.
We've increased our road mileage. Do you know what the total mileage will be with this addition?
We're going from 111.565 miles to 112.676 miles. So we're adding about 1.1 miles of roadway. Most of that is within Evans Farm.
Okay, and then that's what we are responsible for,
Correct.
plowing, keeping
Yeah.
it nice, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Okay. And then the artesian run, am I correct in thinking that was when you come out of those subdivisions, there aren't stop signs that intersect with artesian run? Did I read that properly?
Correct. There is east-west stop. I'm sorry, Olentangy Crossings and Coal Bend. Those east-west.
Is that right?
Correct, yeah, the north and south, those are both unobstructed. Those do not have stop signs or anything. North-south does stop right now. There's been a couple questions about the safety of that now that some new commercial development has opened up there. And so we're just going to work with the traffic engineers through the county to study and make sure that everything is kosher. Yep.
Thank you to Price Organics. I know they're great partners with the township and the county as a whole, so we're excited for their donation.
We're going to move the donation item to the end of the agenda because what we do with donations typically is via resolution. So just to not screw up the ordering of that, we'll get it ready for you towards the end.
Oh, is it not in here yet?
It's a consent.
Should be a resolution. Yes. So we'll do it right before the meeting.
Oh, so it doesn't. I can't deal with that. Okay.
Kind of take the.
Okay, let's see. So I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-041, approving and authorizing the Director of Operations to accept an agreement with Decker Construction Company for the 2024 curb and ramp improvements and authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $62,170.40.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Okay, make a motion to approve Resolution 24-042, authorizing the posting of the job announcement for the part-time Public Works labor position vacancy.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-043, authorizing the posting of the job announcement for the part-time Parks Maintenance and Facilities labor position vacancy.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-044, authorizing the posting of the job announcements for the full-time Parks Maintenance and Facilities labor position vacancy.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Next is, I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-045, authorizing Township Administrator execution of a request for engineering assistance with the Delaware County Engineers Office regarding artesian run between Coal Bend and Olentangy Crossing West.
Second?
Mrs. Fowles?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
So we'll hold off on that donation.
Oh, we can accept them.
Oh, and is it just a consensus for the mileage certificate?
I guess.
Is it just
Yes,
consensus?
just consensus.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Yes. You can say.
Staff, you're good with that?
Yeah, so that's a consensus to accept the Ohio Department of Transportation mileage certificate.
Yes.
Okay, and so the next one we're putting at the end, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
That
I can make it a
the
resolution.
price, okay. Let's see here. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-046, approving and authorizing the Director of Operations to accept an agreement with MK Hardesty for East Orange Road trail maintenance and authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $10,000.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Okay. All right, next, did I get all of them? All right.
Yep.
Right, okay. All right, next we have the fire report. Chief?
Nothing on the agenda today.
Next we have fiscal officer report.
Okay, just a few cleanup items here. The first is from the purchase order that was approved at the last meeting, the resolution 24-032. It was actually, the purchase order was made out to CIMS when it really, the purchase order should have been made out to Ramaker and Associates. So it's just correcting who that PO is for. Nothing else, no, the amount's the exact same, it's just changing who we are cutting the check to and that's accounting stuff. Then 24-048, the next one is something I was working with Assistant Prosecutor Chris Betts at Delaware County and Chief McNeil. This is something they according to the person at Change Healthcare who processes our fire billing, our EMS billing, they said that it should be done every 2 to 3 years on their end, but because of COVID, things got out of whack. So they're finally getting caught up, and ours was expiring at the end of February. So we have to execute this new letter. Chris said county does it, everybody does it. I just need the authorization from you folks to sign said letter that they have prepared for us, which is attached in the exhibit. Then the third item is just accepting, I think this is the Clean Ohio Grant Trail, this 97, yes. Silas got yet another grant. Way to go, Mr. Bowers. So we're changing our appropriations to account for that grant for 97,491 for the Clean Ohio Trails Grant or whatever it's called. And then last but not least, this is a cleanup as we get ready to close out 2023. When we did appropriations in November of 2022 for 23, we appropriated for unclaimed funds. But because of how unclaimed funds is set up as a fiduciary account, I guess we don't have to account for it. So this is just fixing our appropriations from 2023. We didn't issue any checks out of that fund. We have another 2 years, and if nobody claims the money, then it rolls into our general fund. So, okay, this was the stuff from like 15 years ago that was on the books when I started. So slowly but surely that'll be starting to roll off. So this is just fixing the appropriations. Talking to Sherry Lewis in the auditor's office said we could just do this and get everything righted for the end of 2023. Okay?
So those are the checks that like hadn't cleared or thing?
Then they were just hanging out on the books forever.
So we don't have to give that money to the state?
No, it comes to us. So we've given them a report of the money, and some of the people I knew one of the people that had a check out there, and I just called her up and said, "Hey, can you send me your new address, and I'll get you." It was like a swimming lesson refund that never cleared or something like that. But no, we just have that information out there, and
So can they still get the money if they
yeah, they
come
can
from
up
just
until
like, okay,
we did it in 22, so they have till 27.
okay. That's interesting. Did we publish a list of those or anything like the auditor does?
We did or not? I'm not exactly sure. We went through a process with the auditor of state on it. I don't remember where we ended up posting that to.
But I believe the state unclaimed funds department or division does maintain a database.
Yeah.
And I think our report is fed
Is that-
into
is
the
it-
database.
And then last but not least, I did take this off the agenda, the accounting services. So I'm not a CPA. I claim to be a CPA. I am a good finance person, but I am not one that, I don't know all the IRS rules and things like that. And what I'm looking for, and what I'm talking to a couple of different vendors about, is just having like we had some questions with some recent payouts that we had to do for back pay and things like that, and how do we account for different buckets and things like that. So just looking to get somebody on for those as-needed phone calls. I can't imagine it would be ever, we appropriate less than probably $5,000 for it, just for those as-needed or ad hoc phone calls that come up. So just looking to get somebody on board for that.
So is that under ORC that you're allowed to put out like an RFQ or something? And
Well, because it's going to be such a small amount, I mean, like Julian and Group,
Yeah.
who does our audit, they are a vendor of the state of Ohio. I called them, and then I called who Liberty uses to also talk to them and get quotes from them for the same kind of thing.
But we don't have to put it out officially for this
Nope.
service? Okay,
Yep.
good.
We do that.
Yeah.
But you're removing it from today's agenda because your search is ongoing.
The details yet, but just a heads up on something that I'm working on the back end that you'll see sometime in the next probably 45 days.
Yeah, I think I would approve of that because it's just like us having an attorney. We can't know everything all the
Exactly.
time. Believe it or not.
I know my wheelhouse, and it's not IRS regulation, so,
Yeah, and this can run into some hefty fun.
yeah. So that's all I got.
Looking forward to that. Okay, and next we have the,
So we've got.
we got
the
to make the
resolutions.
resolution.
So it's on page 10.
Are there any questions? Okay, I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-047 to correct the vendor named in Resolution 24-032 to Raymaker and Associates, Inc. instead of Cemetery Information Management System.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-048, approving a fiduciary letter to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services to revalidate certain information for the purposes of continuing to receive Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements for emergency medical services.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Next, make a motion to approve Resolution 24-049, revising and/or increasing permanent appropriations established in Resolution 23-288.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. And make a motion to approve Resolution 24-050, revising and/or increasing permanent appropriations established in Resolution 22-384.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have administration report. Ms. Bonnie?
Sorry. I think it was Faust.
It was just in a different order on the paper.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you, board. So I do have quite a few things on under the administrative report, so I'll give I guess a high level of all the items, and then we can get into this discussions from there. So the first item you'll see is in regards to fee schedules. So how we are approaching it this year is to just really share all of our fee schedules at once as a master fee schedule. So the fees include anything related to the fire department, and that involves prevention fees and any services, trainings that they render. Cemetery fees, that's included shelter and community room, services, operational services rendered through the operations department. The aquatic center, so pool passes and the pool, anything related to the pool is incorporated, and then also our zoning fees. So as far as the backup goes, you see all the fee schedules, and then I also provided up to the board a brief summary of the changes, and we do have, data to support that too, and we can get into the conversations further. The next item under the report is the Evans Farm Joint Economic Development District. That is a district that we've had since 2020, and we are proposing an amendment to the district, which is basically updating the disbursement is that what I would call it, disbursement amount to the township. So in order to make an amendment with any JED contract, all municipalities have to approve it. And with this contract, we have the Village of Shawnee Hills and Concord Township. Both of those, Concord Township has approved it. Shawnee Hills is in the works, and then it is in front of you today. So basically, there was a disbursement to Delaware County Finance Authority that was in this contract that has now been removed, and that amount of disbursement has been divided up proportionally to each of the municipalities. So our percentage would increase. It would increase to, off the top of your head.
I think the township gets about 6% additional, so around, I want to say it's about 33.
I would say that we just said the same thing. Yep. Okay.
So that'll be an additional percentage from the income tax we receive through the JED district through for our use. Following that, we do have obsolete items. The obsolete items is actually just older equipment we used from our previous audio virtual system that we no longer need. And then there's the hand sanitizers. So there was some COVID equipment that we had that we I guess no longer utilize. So wanted to put that up for auction. Following that, the land bank board nominee. So this is another thing that involves multiple municipalities. So the county, Delaware County Land Bank does appoint a township representative to be on their board. And I was on the board this past year, and the county has asked me to continue serving on the land bank. In order to do so, the four larger municipalities, based on recent census data, Concord Township, Liberty, Genoa, and Orange have to have a majority approval to have whoever serve on the land bank. So Liberty and Genoa has appointed me, and so I would like to continue serving on the land bank, and this will be for an additional 2 years. After that, the purchasing policy amendment. That is just one update on that. So the purchasing policy we have is not up to date to what the ORC allows as far as a bidding threshold. So that is increased to $75,000 instead of the existing $50,000 in the policy. And then last, the adult use marijuana. That was a conversation we had. We had it this year? No, I think we did it maybe the first meeting. It's been a couple meetings. The conversations were brought up to decide whether or not to have a moratorium in place for adult use, in other words, recreational marijuana, with recent from the November election, recreational marijuana is now a permitted use in the state of Ohio, but townships can put a moratorium in if they choose not to allow the use within their community. We do have a medical marijuana moratorium currently, so there's 2 resolution options in front of you. One is to prohibit it entirely, similar to what we do for medical marijuana. The other one is to permit it, with limitations. So as far as the amount, you can limit it by the amount of how many retail uses, and I have Julie here because she's the expert on this when we get into the conversations from there. And then if we don't do either one of those, it's just permitted, is pretty much how that would go. So there's 3 options with 2 resolutions that we could proceed with. And that's all I have. We want to go into fees first.
Is there something that shows what the fees currently are?
For all of
for the pool, for example, or for everything?
Yes.
Current resident daily is 9, twilight is 5, night swim is 10.
So I didn't want to
The sheet only indicates an increase in the resident daily rate and the night swim rate.
everything else is the same.
Everything is the same.
Yeah. And so my summary, I was hoping, I was trying to capture everything that's different to what is existing. So in the backup item that, to Ms. Faust's point, is the only difference with anything pool related is a $1 increase in the daily pass and a $2 increase with the special event night swim pass.
So I asked Ms. Kraft earlier today, when we, at the end of the 23 pool season, were we in the red, were we in the black?
We were in the red.
And by how much?
Approximately $35,000.
So, and then my understanding is we have an increase in the contract price of 75,000 this year.
You do.
So if we didn't do anything different, we'd be in the red by 110,000?
I have that number right
Ish.
here in my estimate.
And it just,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, obviously it
rough
depends on how many people join and how many.
If you don't do anything different,
If
my
no-
numbers here
no
show,
numbers.
you just switch this back, didn't 10. I have that same model that we used in the last year.
And so Michelle's fee schedule note had said that if we increase the daily passes by the $1 and then the special event.
We'll lose $126,000 if we don't do the $1 daily increase and the $2 night swim increase.
126.
Okay.
So what
So
if
a little over 10% of our levy money.
So what do we do if we increase those two categories?
Then your number is, so if I take daily rate to 10 and take night swim to 12, takes it to 115,000.
And what if we
Loss.
also increase all the memberships by 5?
Wait, hold on. So with just those two changes, there's only a difference of $11,000? Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
when I talked to Michelle, I was suggesting each of them going by $10 or something, because I think we should just,
The membership as
yeah,
well.
each member, by 10
If
or
we did
15.
can you show us what 5 is and then what 10 is?
And maybe having the upper ones go up by, like a pass of 2 would not
Okay,
increase,
less.
yeah. Because I think we should probably just add $5 or $10 every year rather than just all of a sudden, because, every year the price are going to
I
increase.
mean, I think we went up by 5 last year and I think we went up by 5 the year before.
I don't think we increased that year, did we?
We didn't.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of increasing the daily again.
I don't think we've increased the daily.
Yeah, it went from 9 to 10.
No, that's what
Daily,
that's what she's proposing.
Oh, it's 9 right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's proposing 10.
Yeah.
I'm proposing, let's increase the daily from 9 to 10 and the night swim from 10 to 12, and let's increase the memberships by at least 5.
Yeah, I'm in favor of increasing it by 5 or 10 for the membership. I think like if you have a normal family of 4, $40 is a lot of money, especially when you could buy a family pass and it pays for itself in like, what, 3?
No, I think she's
5
proposing
times.
taking $215 if that's the current price for 4, and making it $220. Is that what you're proposing?
Right, I was-
You're not $4 per member in the family?
No, just $5 per type of membership.
Correct, per type of family, yes.
Does it make sense?
And I think Lisa was talking about the daily passes.
Yeah, I'm talking
Oh,
about.
I'm sorry.
I'm back on the daily passes, but so the family of 2 would go from, these are the current prices here, 175,
Yeah.
and that would go up by 5. I mean, I would just add, what about adding $10 to each category? I know it sounds like a lot, but I think
Lisa, what would that give us?
our fees have increased. I mean, we do have levy money that pays for part of it, but
Yeah, I mean,
all
think
the
it's-
expenses have
it's
gone
not
up so
gonna-
high.
I mean,
I don't think anyone would care about $10.
Yeah.
But daily passes is different. I feel like $40.
I
for
think
a
it's
family.
easier to bring that, I understand what you're saying when you've got a family.
Yeah, 'cause
Because
someone goes
I'm
to-
thinking the kids. I feel like the people that, and I could be wrong, but the people that come and get the daily pass are like the, I've got a membership and we bring a friend, right? And so that family might give me a $10 bill and it's just easier to, here's the 10, rather than getting change for a 1. That's.
Yeah, but if you have a family of 4, that's $40.
Right,
That's a
but
lot
then
of
again,
money.
the goal is, I think, to encourage them to get the membership. So like, hey, my family can come 3 or 4 times and it just makes.
Yeah, but I don't want to discriminate against like people with families versus like, a couple or people with a couple of teenagers want to stop by. I mean, your kids don't want to go to the pool as much, I think,
Right.
as they get older,
Yeah, I
but
do.
$40 just seems like, I'd be more in favor of $10, like $10 for each category. I mean, normally I wouldn't go up by 10, but every year $10 is less and less.
Lisa, what if can you put in the 10? And what does that give us?
We're doing it across the board on
Try.
all membership rates.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, just try across the board, but maybe with
Andrew,
the
can you
family.
open up the worksheet so everybody can see what worksheet I'm working from?
Yes. I don't know if we'll be able to operate it.
That's fine, I can come over and operate it, but,
Well,
man, Rugby's better. Yeah,
I don't know where to edit
right there in the blue.
it. Here.
So you might want, yeah, so basically this is what I'm using, this is what we used last year. I just updated it with last year's numbers and the new pool contract. So there's 3 levels of, how
what's the daily rate at 10?
how bad, like the very top orange box that shows $101,000 gain, or that basically covers just the pool management contract, nothing else. And so that's in the black, so that says, you want to drive Michelle or you want to?
You said, how much were we in the hole last year?
$34,000, about almost $35,000. 75,000.
Yeah, right. So it's going from 35, -35, -126 if we do not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What if you add $10 to each category? And maybe maybe we can try 15 for the upper categories of like 4 and 5. That's just kind of random, but that's only like a 5% increase.
Even for these two, the additional, are we just doing it?
No, I would just do
That.
Yeah, keep those.
Okay, so that's what it looks like.
I can't read it. What did it say?
Okay, so that's your 3 different levels. So as far as whether or not I'm fully loaded, which includes utilities and park staff time, that's your fully loaded rate. Your middle box there, which shows us $24,000, which isn't bad. Right there. That doesn't include like labor for Mike or his team, Mike Kelly or his team.
So wait, is that
Or utilities.
is that the one that was 126 before that?
No, the bottom number is 126. The net gain, the net fully loaded.
That's only. Oh wait, so it was a fully loaded minus 126.
Can you change?
I believe so. But mine already had the $10,000. I think mine had that. I'd already changed some numbers, so I don't know.
So
I think the night swim needs to be up to 12, not 14. And that's what you had in here.
Now why would the night swim be? It's only 2 hours, right?
Yeah, but that's competitive for like the gym extreme.
18. Chiller is 18 or 20. I mean, this is still significantly.
Yeah, but this is taxpayer funded too. Which
True.
this is subsidized by people's taxes that they pay hundreds of dollars a year for.
Yeah.
Private enterprise.
But we also need to make sure that we can afford to keep it full running.
Yeah, which is why, I'm in favor of, definitely, I mean, I would say, so that only takes away $25,000, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can try, if it's simple math, so we had about 5,000 memberships last year, so anything more, so
Okay.
when he times it by 5, that's 25,000 addition, like say if it went $5, 25,000, so for $10, it's an additional, I'm just roughing estimates, 50,000.
And I'm sorry, did you put 10 in there?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So that cuts about, but it went from 126,000 to 101,000 though, right? Because you said it was,
Yeah, you're basically taking, last year, a total of 1,534 memberships were sold. So you're taking $10 across,
Oh,
1,500.
I thought it was, okay,
Memberships, not members.
members.
So
Oh.
like 261, for a total number of members was 5,041.
oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's why it's only, I would, I mean, I think it's gonna have to go up by $10 per category in perpetuity.
Did she just do $10 for 10?
Yeah, but I mean, 10 plus
Oh, yeah.
10 next year, because every year, if we just add 5, it's a smaller percentage of the total amount, so $5, on a $125
Okay, so if you
membership.
go back down to see the membership rates, please.
Yeah, how many day passes did we sell?
11,166.
So actually, day passes, we have twice the number of residents that use day passes versus the
But you don't know if that was one resident or one resident for one pass or one resident for 4 passes, right? You don't know if their family just showed up for the day and there's 4 of them, or
Well, yeah, if you saw 11
if I'm coming to bring my 5 cousins from out of town.
but that's still 11,000 resident passes versus
Yeah, but that's a big
5,000.
difference.
Yeah,
Daycare, I think the daycares is a big percentage anymore, but those kind of things.
yeah,
Michelle,
but
I think the family of 5 is supposed to be 245. If the fees on the other there. And then the family of 6 is supposed to be 265. Oh, sorry. I mean, that's gonna bring our number down, but.
So I think another, if we are going to increase the memberships as opposed to the daily pass, we should, I'm just looking, a family of 5 is 245.
yeah, I would almost increase the tiers of the, maybe 4, 5, and 6 by each of those by another, maybe $5, because, it's proportional. And then maybe the additional, yeah, maybe, I mean, it's not going to make a big difference, but I think the bigger families, $15 more is not that much. It's still a very good deal.
We pull other area pools like we have in years past.
Yeah, we looked at, sorry, Silas, I didn't want to, I think we probably looked at 7 or 8 different townships.
And this is still in line or under? Okay. Thank you.
What are the day passes like at the other places? Do we have
We are a little bit below average. I would say it's probably safe to say most are at least at 10.
Do we have
daily.
any data on that that's in writing or any research that anyone
Yes.
did?
Yes.
Do we have it here? I didn't- Do you guys just want to we're spending a lot of time on this, do we have to know today, or could we, I hate to spend another 10 minutes on this.
It seems like we're at somewhat of a consensus there that rates need to increase some of them.
I still think, no.
Yeah, I like your idea of $10 for the memberships, but I do think that I am comfortable bumping that daily pass to 10, some to 12. I do like your idea of the bumping up those.
And we could
By 10.
revisit it to potentially increase the fees or look at other funding mechanisms.
I just think $40, that's a lot. Like, what is the city of Dublin or Mingo or Delaware? Does anyone know?
I think between 12 and 15, depending on I think they have 3 different pools. So theirs varies a little bit depending on the amenities at each pool.
Yeah, it would be helpful to have that.
I think I can get it. Okay. Did you guys have any questions on the other fees?
I looked at the cemetery, there's seemed to be a bigger jump, but we haven't updated since like 15 or 16, so
That's the most recent we could find.
necessary, yeah, so.
So is that with the $10 daily rate?
Yes.
That we'd still be short by 100?
Can you scroll back up?
This is 2023 points for that one.
And for adults, 9, 5 through 17 years old.
Maybe we should make it less for
Free
children.
and then there's a discount for seniors after 6 p.m.
I like, the children. $10 for kids and $10 for adults. I kind of like that, because if you've got kids, kids are expensive. I kind of like that model. And then I actually, that's interesting, $12 for non-resident members. Maybe we need to, non-resident, like friends.
We used to have a different number.
I want to say we did, probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Before COVID, I think, because at one point you weren't allowed in. But now you can come in, you just have to come with a resident.
Yeah.
Which we still want to keep that.
Yeah, we might look at, but Dublin bumps it up by a couple of dollars for non-resident. That kind of makes, that might be something we want to look at too.
How do we, then we have to make sure that our pool staff knows who's an Orange Township resident.
Provide a license.
What if I'm bringing my kid's friend who lives in Berlin? That
Well, then
12-year-old
they would
doesn't have a
to-
license.
Yeah, you would just say, yeah. I mean, I guess no one would know if it was your kid or not, but if it's another adult, like no one's gonna card a little kid unless you bring an Ada. But for adults, maybe, that might be a way to help, but there really aren't a lot of, if we only have 11,000 day passes, what about 10 for adults and 9 for kids to help alleviate?
I mean, it's a start, and then I would like to look into.
I just am concerned, just knowing, no disrespect to Columbus Pool Management, but knowing they're 15 and 16-year-olds at the desk and having them manage,
But
the more stuff they have to manage, the more that it doesn't go as it should,
But, I mean, how did City of Dublin handle it then?
No, I don't know.
They have multiple tiers there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, we do pay them a lot of money to run our pool.
If we do.
I mean, expect them, they should be able to do some simple math.
And I'll add too, for what it's worth, I think the changes have been implemented the last couple of years with the residents only in the day passes has gotten a lot smoother, and the atmosphere and the entry process with the pool has gotten pretty smooth and have really reduced a lot of issues we've had at the front desk to make the operations a little smoother at the pool too. So that $1, I don't think would be met with much fuss, if you will, from the people that are coming to the pool on a daily basis. I think, as Trustee Faust mentioned, it might even be easier for not just the people using the pool, but also, as Fiscal Officer Kraft mentioned, for the accounting purposes.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking about the residents bringing 3 kids in and having to spend $50 for a family of 5. I mean, that's a lot of money. You come twice.
But it's only $5 difference. I mean, it is.
Yeah, but
yes,
still.
but it's
but
yeah,
it's
yeah, I know.
still, yeah, it's a big jump. I mean, so you're talking, the other categories are increasing by 4 or 5%, and that is increasing by like 10%, 12%. I just hate to penalize the people that just come periodically, because in the old days, you would have to come like, I think I calculated 13 times the daily rate to make it worth it. That was the proportion. So and now it's 5.5 times pretty much. So the proportion is shifted. Because I used to weigh it out, come 13 times.
Well, I would track everything as we go to make sure my
Oh, yeah,
membership
totally.
paid for it.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do it too.
We did back in the day. So it just still doesn't seem like it's making a huge dent. So that's the total with increasing it by 10.
I mean, it's just a
and-
much bigger net to cover this year.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to completely offset the.
But I hate that so last year, what you're saying is last year was only 35,000 in the hole, and now we're 126,000. This would take it down to about 100. But
Last
did the
year,
30
we didn't charge the pool with any utilities last year.
Okay, so let's compare apples to apples.
Yeah,
So let's.
Yeah, that's,
Now we're only 26.
oh,
So that's the one, and that's why you have 3 different levels.
So the
How much
35 in the
to
whole.
cover the management contract?
yeah.
How much to cover kind of your operating expense, which is budgeted, I think, at $50,000. And then the third one is if you really want to cover all the components.
And I don't know if we've ever been fully black in the fully loaded costs, I guess.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
No, we never.
So I wouldn't.
need to
I just hate the gap to get too
Yeah.
high. So right now, if we change to 10 and increase the categories by, did you increase the other categories by 15, the bigger categories?
bigger. Yeah, I only did it by 10.
Yeah, because I think for maybe 4, 5, and 6, maybe it should increase to like 15 because It's a little bit, a lot more people. Maybe $5 per, well, it's too much. I don't know, I mean, are we really ready to vote on this tonight? I mean, we're paying Julie to be here and, you know, it's, that's not the only reason, but you know, I feel like it's gonna be hard to make this decision right now, like on the fly. Maybe could we bring it back to the next meeting? Is this urgent? And then we can have something ready to go and it would take 2 minutes.
I would suggest that we approve the increases that I think we're all comfortable with and then look at additional options and then come back and revisit pools specifically. Because this is approving all of the fees. And I think we know that we want to at least increase the season passes by $10, for example.
But what about category 4, 5, and 6 by 15?
That's something that we can, I think, still do, but we would just then come back and increase it by an additional 5
In 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks.
And I'm happy to send out this worksheet if y'all want to play with it. And then you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, ideally, I would like all the fees to be approved. We definitely need to move on a couple of them. Just Fire's been holding off on announcing their fees. We need the rental fees in place.
Can we do all the fees except the pool fees?
We can.
Yeah, why don't we do that and then just finish at the pool fees in a couple weeks and then we can you send us the, yeah. And then we can, okay.
And then can you send us the spreadsheet that has the other communities as well?
Is that what you were just asking? Is that what you mean, the spreadsheet for all the
that
communities?
spreadsheet we can play with and also the other fees.
Okay, yep, I will send those both out.
And then we could make our own spreadsheets here. Okay.
So I'll just for sake of this, we'll make record to exclude the North Orange Aquatic Center fees, and then when, assuming you guys are ready for it, we'll amend this fee schedule to add this to make it one master fee schedule eventually.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Okay. So,
We're keeping the zoning department fees, we're keeping
everything
the cemetery fee.
are there questions about the other fees?
I did not have any other questions.
I can't come the way this is done. I'll have to get a new exhibit. from
That's
the guy.
fine, yeah.
Yeah, it would be, so did the shelter and community room, did that increase?
Yes.
It would be helpful next time to have like what it is now and then what it's going to be.
Okay, I'm sorry, this I sent shows, it identifies all the changes, so, I didn't do it before and after because I just thought it was gonna be number overload, but I can, but I did distinguish, what has changed in
Yeah,
my,
it says
in
like
my
increase the
summary.
community room from 35 to 50 to factor in staff time and cleaning sheet. Did a good explanation with that. It's helpful, thank you.
And then my understanding the board would wanted to revisit having this space as a rental option again, so. There's a
Yeah, are
couple,
we going to talk about that?
so that'll be, it'll be added, it is added into the fee schedule. We have to make a couple security improvements, before it's officially announced, but we can incorporate it in the fee schedule.
Excited about that offering for the community.
Yeah, so we know.
And those are the only changes, Lisa, to the show.
Okay, any other questions too? How much are the graves changing?
So the graves, that is the one I did not get too into. So we have not changed fees since 2015 for that. Let me see.
So the single grave was $250, now it's $350. The single grave non-resident was $1,100, now it's $1,500. Opening and closing regular hours was $600, now it's $800. Overtime hours, opening and closing is $800, now $1,000. Cremains, regular hours, $200 to $300. Cremains overtime hours, $275 to $375. Lot fee changes, $35 to $50. The foundations were 65 cents per square inch. Now they're 80 cents per square inch, still keeping the $100 minimum. Veteran plaque fees are still waived. And then it said the exhumation, not saying that wrong, contractor must be approved plus opening and closing fee. And before it said that was $1,200. So I think that's like a conversation.
Mm-hmm. And we looked at a lot of different communities for that one too,
How many years has it been?
since 2015.
Wow.
Oh, 9 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion. We're doing, we'll just do these individually, I guess, and then have the discussion. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-051 to accept the fee schedules for 2024 minus the pool fees.
Yes.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Were there any questions about the JUD?
I have none.
I have none.
Thank you for your work on that.
Sure.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-052, resolution adopting and approving the First Amendment to the Joint Economic Development District Contract Village of Shawnee Hills, Delaware County, Ohio, and Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, and Concord Township, Delaware County, Ohio.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. So did you say we're not doing, are we changing?
No, we're not changing the date. We need to verify the time.
Well, we would be changing the date.
Oh, right, we were. You're right. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. The conversation, and we can talk, I mean, we can talk about it, but the conversation, currently, the Veterans Memorial dedication is scheduled on the actual holiday itself, but we were looking at partnering with the school district as they were really great partners throughout this project, so, partners, okay. But, so try to get it during the school week for their participation. So we talked about doing it in the morning one day during the week, and then our volunteer committee suggested maybe even doing it in the evening. So just trying to find a middle ground or the best option. So we're going to talk back to the schools because we want as many people that are able to attend to come, and then also loop in the Veterans Subcommittee, which they're meeting next week to further discuss.
Yep. And I left a message for Mrs. Marconi, who's the middle school teacher that we've been coordinating with before this meeting. So hopefully we'll hear back. It was just, do we want during the daytime, specifically, we'd be able to accommodate Orange Middle School students that would be able to get there very easily. But the residents in our volunteer committee brought up, do we want to make it easier for other schools? We got 10 schools in the township. So we just got to figure out what's best.
And trying to avoid like rush hour times because that
Correct.
intersection is
A little challenging.
is
Yeah, and then we got to find parking and all the things. So
yes.
we're just not ready.
So long answer to your question, Ms. Knapp. We are not.
All right. Okay, and, okay, so we're on, okay. 053, okay, make a motion to approve resolution 24-053, finding certain personal property not needed for public use, obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired, to have no value, and ordering it to be auctioned on GovDeals, Inc., be discarded or salvaged.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
The land bank appointment, I just noticed my term would actually end in 2025. So we can just make that correction for the record. It's a 2-year term.
Oh, good catch. Okay, make a motion to approve resolution 24-054 to appoint Michelle Bonney as a member of the Delaware County Land Use Bank.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
And then the purchasing policy, that was, like I said, just increasing the threshold to 75,000 for competitive bidding.
Okay, and is this for competitive bidding for which purchases?
It's like big projects, right? Doesn't this match the House Bill 33 change or something that changed at the statewide?
This would be competitive.
Construction projects, capital improvement projects, things of that nature that weren't part of any of the exceptions that are listed in the RC.
But this is for fire, right, or fire and parks, and, or is it applicable to parks?
It can be capital projects, yes.
To make a motion to approve resolution, I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-055, resolution to amend and adopt a purchasing policy to increase the competitive bidding threshold amount from $50,000 to $75,000.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Thank you. Got it. There's a typo in the title that Ms. Knapp is put. Okay, thanks.
Oh, yeah, marijuana.
Well, Julie's office has been, I guess, you guys worked on this, so I don't know if you want to kind of speak high level and then we'll take it from there as far as what you drafted for us for the resolutions. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Board. It's nice to be here. So just to get a bit of recap, as Michelle mentioned earlier in the meeting, several years ago, the state legislature put into effect or permitted medical marijuana within the state of Ohio. Townships are able to adopt a resolution that basically prohibits or limits dispensaries, cultivators of medical marijuana in the township. You folks went ahead in 2017, and you have a current prohibition on the books for basically medical marijuana operations. As many people are aware, this most recent general election, Ohio voted to legalize adult use medical marijuana. And what that meant was we now have kind of a mirroring statute that permits a township to either prohibit or limit the number of dispensaries, cultivators, that type of thing for adult use medical marijuana in the township. I know that recreational, yes, correct. Did I say medical? Apologies on that. So I know that the board had prior discussions, and there are many options that the board could do. Obviously, anything that if you enact a prohibition, that's not something that has to be forever. It's something that you can put into place, and we have many townships that are putting a complete prohibition into place just to get the lay of the land and see how things unfold with the understanding that, look, we may open things up down the line. However, so that your first resolution, there are two draft resolutions in your packet. The first resolution, the one on page 34, prohibits, it reiterates your medical marijuana prohibition, but it also prohibits adult use facilities in the township. The second resolution that starts on 35 is a limiting resolution, if the board would be interested in considering that. What this document does is it prohibits, pardon me, I just want to make sure that they're who knew that there were so many different economic or businesses in terms of the medical marijuana or the marijuana
Sub-uses.
Exactly, sub-uses. So what this it would and if you turn to page 36, there are a couple of placeholders. It would permit a certain number, which there are highlighted placeholders, but the question is how many would the township like to permit? A certain number of medical and adult marijuana dispensaries, while still prohibiting the cultivators and processors. Another caveat that we discussed with staff was basically, okay, if the township permits a certain number of dispensaries to be located in the township, is there a way that the township could limit the location? Look, does it make sense to have it in specified areas? And so one additional component that we've included in this resolution, which is on page 37, is basically, it's going to tie it to your zoning resolution. And it would permit a medical or adult dispensary only to be it has to meet the number requirement, but also it could only be located either in a zoning district that identifies it as a permitted use, or a zoning district that identifies it as a conditional use and obtains a conditional use certificate, or it is located in a planned district that identifies the dispensary as a permitted use with a final development plan. So that again, just it further limits if you move forward with the second resolution, it limits the number of facilities in place, as well as this also gives your zoning staff time to really dig into your zoning resolution and figure out what districts does it make sense for these facilities to be located in and that type of thing. I've done a lot of talking, and so at this point I will turn to the board and see if you have questions.
So if we did the limiting option, and when would that go into effect? Because our zoning code currently doesn't speak to marijuana at all. And obviously we know we're in the process of redoing the code, but that could be 6 months or more before it's done. So how, if it was limited to location and quantity, how would we, if there's nothing that says you can have it right now?
So that would be an effective prohibition. It basically, and again, it gives you time, it gives the staff time. So that the concern is, or at least in other places, there's a concern of, look, if a facility opens under the cover of night, that type of thing. So the way this second resolution would be set up is if the township never amended the zoning resolution to specifically identify as permitted use or conditional use, then it's a prohibition. So that's how that would basically work. It will be interesting. I know that it'll be interesting to see how it all continues to unfold. There are several bills moving through the General Assembly at the moment. I know that there's a movement to basically make adult use marijuana illegal again, and basically undo all of this. Obviously, anytime the General Assembly starts moving forward with bills and that type of thing, we don't know how it's going to end up, but all we can say, our advice is move forward with the law that's on the books right now, and if things need to be amended or repealed, you can handle that at that time. So,
do we have any idea what? Actually, two questions. One, do cities also have the ability to limit and prohibit the way townships do? Correct. Okay. And the next question is, do we know what other municipalities around us are in the process of doing?
I am not sure. I know.
I'm sure we'll learn this week.
This week, I know. We're going to the association conference this week, so we're interfacing with lots of other communities. Yeah.
What I can say, I think a lot of township clients are proceeding with prohibitions, just with the understanding of let's get the lay of the land, with the willingness to open up at some point, but just until the General Assembly stops passing bills, until the process is kind of in order, just kind of better safe than sorry, putting a prohibition in place.
For now.
For now.
Yeah. Reassess at a later time.
Is there a particular reason with the second resolution that it was allowing dispensaries but putting a moratorium on cultivators and processors?
No particular reason, just in terms of, and if the board wanted to move those items into, again, grouping it, it just in terms of discussion with staff, the thought was perhaps permitting dispensaries but still prohibiting those other facilities. But again, if the board did not want that, that certainly can be changed. That's not a problem.
Like 10 different options, I feel like.
Yeah.
So if we don't do anything and somebody comes in with a commercial zoning permit, or, well, I don't know if it's even allowed yet, but I guess that's my first question. Is this
timeline was June?
Is it
Sometime this summer?
There's still time.
Okay. So if we get a permit now, we couldn't do anything with it or they wouldn't be able to move forward on development.
I don't believe so. I don't think they're ready.
Okay.
But it's something that timeline is a bit fuzzy. There's more because there's kind of a regulatory process, and they're building the plane as they're going down the runway. So that's why I would encourage some action, just so that way.
Because administratively, if we get a zoning permit, a commercial zoning permit, and they say, I mean, if it's really just considered retail at this point, we can't hold on. We have to continue on with our permitting process, and that's up to a higher level than us of whether or not that's going to be.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they have, what happens in June?
So, so my understanding, currently no one can get an adult use license to sell right now. There's a process that the state is putting into place to go through that. Again, I'm not.
But we can approve the zoning, they just might not get their license.
Exactly, yeah.
And if we do nothing and things go forward at the state level, then they can have as many as they want here. If the default is
Open use, yep, permitted.
Yeah, it would just be considered as commercial use.
But we still had the moratorium on medical use and the cultivating, right? We had that in place from 2017.
So adult, you're exactly right, that if you do nothing, your medical marijuana prohibition would still be in place, but adult use.
so you can use it for fun, but not to help with your chemo treatment.
Yeah. That sounds right. We should just repeal that.
I think that we should implement the second resolution that has the restrictions in our zoning code.
So that,
And if the board is leaning to the second resolution, then the only question would be the filling in the two placeholders in terms of the number of facilities.
Or no number, right?
Or no number, correct. If you just wanted to permit any number of dispensaries, I guess that is true as well.
so Mike, you're saying we need to figure out how many we would want? If we don't want to pass the other one, is that what you're suggesting?
I'd say with the second resolution, that will at least restrict where a adult use marijuana, from my understanding, where an adult use marijuana dispensary would be able to locate in the township based on where we would like it to be for zoning purposes. And if you didn't fill in a number in those blanks for the amount of, then it would be location based as far as the number of dispensaries. And I think with certain zoning restrictions in place and just market forces, I think that would probably, if the second resolution was adopted, would probably naturally limit where you would have dispensaries, because I doubt you're going to have 5 dispensaries trying to set up shop next to each other. And if there are only certain areas in the township that you can set up a dispensary in the first place due to the zoning code, I think that will probably naturally limit it.
And if we make it a conditional use, that involves a public hearing. So, there would be a notification process for however, I think it's 200 feet. So,
But we have so effectively it would be a prohibition if we have nothing in the zoning resolution yet. Not this option would, correct? I mean, I'm sure Mike did the same research. The township residents, 55.72% voted yes on issue 2. So reproductive rights, FYI, 64.28% voted yes on that. But I feel like, how is this different than, I mean, like I said, I don't use pot, I have no plans, I don't use drugs, I'm not a fan of using even legal drugs, but I know a lot of people that do, and I don't know why. I mean, we have, there's bars that have alcohol, and they're regulated by the Bureau of Alcohol, but I just don't see, in my own personal opinion, what I've checked out some of these, and if the zoning in an area is really very flexible and very laissez-faire, then the building's going to reflect the current zoning. So around here we have pretty strict zoning. I feel like if one of these came in, they'd still have to abide by. They couldn't have too many signs. They can't have. We still have neon. Is neon still prohibited? Except for open and shut signs.
right, the signage, I mean, we don't have any like flashing light or like message.
Yeah, like
I mean, there is restrictions on aesthetics of the sign.
Because I've gone to, seen some of these places and other places that won't be mentioned, but there's a flashing sign and cheesy stuff like that. A lot of wall coverings and things like that, but I don't see how this is any different than another
retail use these days. Now, maybe a few years ago, I would have had a different opinion, but that's just my own opinion that I think there's people that use this stuff, and professional people, that live in our township, Liberty Township, Genoa Township. I feel like this would make it, who knows if this is even going to be a thing, but at some point it would make it easier. They don't have to, drive for hours to get whatever it is, gummies that they want to take. But I don't see an objection. I don't have any objections to that retail use.
And I'm just of the opposite mindset. I represent the 45% of the residents who did vote no. So my personal opinion would be to prohibit it completely. And so I did some research with the Delaware County Health Department and the Delaware Morrow Mental Health Recovery Board, just about, what is the crash increase and all that kind of stuff. What is the arrests increases in specifically most of the data was in Colorado and California, places where it's been legal for a while. And it said the marijuana arrests dropped since legalization, which makes sense because it's legal. So you aren't going to arrest people for using it. So I'm like, okay, I get that. It did say that the crash increased somewhere between 4 and 6%. Vehicle crashes and fatalities, I think, was closer to 4. Once this was legalized.
When was
I think it's been about 10 years. So that's just kind of my reasons.
That seems kind of small.
I did think that as well. So, but that was.
It could be used, due to other.
Right.
I guess crashes now have gone crazy since COVID too. People are at the accidents, like road rage. So, you just never know. But I figure people are adults and they should be allowed to use it if they want. But I don't have a terribly strong opinion, but.
So are you suggesting that we should move forward with something like the second resolution that restricts where dispensaries could be located?
Well, is there any restrictions under law? Do we even know is there any restrictions for this? They don't have the license procedure together, is that correct? Like there's sometimes, like with adult entertainment or things, there's certain different uses that have like already built into the law where they can be located. Is there anything like that with this? Can they be located anywhere?
I'm not aware of any restrictions I'm not aware of any statewide limitations on where they can be located, but
the licenses aren't even
correct
ready, so they might even have that in like an administrative rule or something, and so we don't really. But and just think about where they could locate now. They could locate probably in the Walmart shopping center and
right next to the Taekwondo place.
Yeah. Well, there's a smoke shop, over there now. There's alcohol. Yeah. There's lots of interesting places. There's restaurants that sell alcohol everywhere. There's alcohol. There's state liquor licenses. Things like that all over the place. The people that tend to use pot, to me, seem to be different personality maybe than people who drink heavily in general, in my opinion. They seem a little more chill. They don't seem like
did show that domestic violence has gone down in areas.
Oh, interesting.
That's a plus.
Right. I believe that's often alcohol use versus.
I think if we don't restrict the location, most of our commercial is on 23.
Yeah.
So, but the pockets that are near,
There's a number of just youth places, right?
It's far. There's different pocket areas that are surrounded by residential.
This is about the election data from November of last year with issue 2. I drilled down to the precinct level as well, and all but 3 of the precincts in the unincorporated area of Orange Township voted to approve the recreational use of marijuana. So I think those 3 precincts, those communities, those neighborhoods did not approve of the recreational use legalization of marijuana. So I think at a minimum, we should have this discussion with our zoning commission as to where we think would be an appropriate use for dispensaries. Because my thought, my understanding would be that if they are listed as commercial businesses, then they will be able to look at setting up shop wherever there could be a conditional use for commercial.
Billy, if we don't pass any of the resolutions today, we can still work with the zoning code to make those changes and to reflect what this is really calling for anyways.
The only again, thing to keep in mind, you're exactly right.
Just
that
the timing
But
of
just
it.
the timing
Yeah.
of it,
It's
it
time,
takes
yeah.
I feel like at full steam ahead, it'll take at least 90 days to get a zoning amendment across the finish line. And so it's something to keep in mind of.
So we could do a zoning amendment before, like not, like separate from the zoning code rewrite. We could just do a standalone amendment
Yeah, no, we can.
and then just obviously incorporate that into the new code. as
I mean,
that-
this resolution at least gives us some time to think, I guess,
That second
you
one.
know, what was it, not qualified.
Have there been any inquiries at all
We've had 2.
recently?
And were those dispensaries or were those,
Retail.
those were dispensaries?
Oh, sorry.
retail.
Yes, dispensary, retail.
Yeah.
Just the selling of the product, yeah.
But that's like retail, right? Is that still called a
Yeah, sorry, I know, I say,
So
I think
confusing.
retail, but yeah, the term is
So it's kind of retail. You've had 2, and did they give the location?
No, I think they are hiring some type of zoning consultants to just see what communities are willing to work with them, and then they,
But not feelers.
yeah.
But hypothetically, they could apply for a permit for someplace that's
They could
commercially
apply it
zoned today,
Yes.
and we would have to potentially grant that permit. Whereas if we adopted the second resolution, we'd at least have a conversation first before we could get to that point about where it
Yeah,
might be
it's-
appropriate to
yeah,
have a
it-
dispensary in the
it
township.
would- The areas.
But, and then, then I feel like it would take a year to get this amended, you know, there would,
I mean, I'm hoping to you guys say.
well, just for this change though, just for the,
I mean, if the board's direction was pass this and work on a zoning amendment immediately to
Yeah.
address this, to Julie's point, probably 90 days.
you think they could get it done? Okay, yeah.
In 90 days, it's beginning of February. They don't even have the permitting process at the state level yet, so.
I mean, we can always do a zoning amendment. It just has to, zoning amendments go through regional plans and.
And that's something,
In 30 days effective date
Oh, yeah.
afterward, so it just
Just
is had a lot of.
But we can, I mean, ideally, it would be with the master zoning code that we're proposing, but if we can definitely get it started.
so it would be, okay. So they would indicate certain zoning districts that are allowed to do that. So the zoning commission would look into zoning districts, but would they actually identify not the location though? I mean, because, it could just be planned commercial or planned industrial. Is that what that would be?
I mean, right now, yes, we are, in our new code, we are creating straight districts, so there will be specific areas that we could pinpoint, but in our current
After
code.
that, right. So you could say, well, it could be in the Walmart shopping center, for example.
I mean, the only thing we could do with our existing code is just add it as a permitted use in the commercial.
And that would just be
district.
for everybody.
Do you add it as a conditional use so that it goes through the?
Yep.
zoning commission?
Yeah, mhm.
But then a conditional use, as long as they meet the parameters that are specified, they would get it. So those are,
Well, there's some wiggle room to that, yeah.
there is some, but like a variance, you have to prove hardship and things, but with a conditional use permit, that they just have to meet the requirements of whatever it is, like parking
So
or.
No.
even, so with conditional uses, there is a bit more flexibility, even if an application meets all the criteria of the conditional, all the conditions, the BZA can still deny the application. If there's, again, so
But
they
there
do
would
have
to
a
be,
bit more.
yeah, there would have to be some specific issue, like people would show up and I guess maybe complain, but, I guess, like I said, I don't have a strong opinion. I'm okay with holding off if we gave direction to the zoning commission to look into creating so they would create conditional, maybe a
These
conditional
are just
use.
options for the zoning. It's not set in stone, right?
Or they could give us a
Yeah, so
a suggestion.
Yes, the three options I'm sorry, the three listed on page 37 are just options that, how we can incorporate it in the zoning code. But to Julie's point, it would not be permitted unless one of these three options were.
What if we just said, I mean, one of these three options, are these the only three options available?
So, no, well, in terms of zoning, there's basically
This is all of them,
what 1,
right?
2, and 3
Yeah, I don't
says is there needs to be a number requirement. It's permitted, but then you need to go to the zoning resolution and you need to find, where it's listed as a permitted use, or a conditional use, and you get a conditional use application. So this basically,
It covers-
1, 2, and 3 just says.
It covers the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? So basically it almost says unless it's included in the zoning resolution, almost, right?
And so,
Okay.
because right now, there is nothing in the zoning resolution, it is, it just is, all right, well, nobody's moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of just doing absolutely nothing today, but I could go along if the other board members would prefer that. I can do that.
What I will say, since Michelle has indicated that there's already been some inquiries, if the board wants to take additional time, and figure out, the game plan and that type of thing, my recommendation would be to pass the prohibition, and then with the understanding that it'll be amended, it'll be repealed, as you sort through, just to prevent a situation of someone submitting an application and then, kind of being in limbo. Is this someone who's grandfathered in, that type of thing?
And
If
that,
we don't go with the second one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yep. And again, by passing the first, the total prohibition, that does not mean that we couldn't come back at the next meeting and the board adopt the second resolution or something that looks in a different way from that. But just something that at least gives you the backstop and the protection, to prevent, again, to get your ducks in a row. So that way you can make sure that, things move forward the way the board would like it.
but doesn't the second option also effectively do that because it's not in the zoning resolution?
Good, yes, absolutely.
Right. I mean, I kind of like the second one because it's still giving a nod to the people who support this kind of thing versus, I think if we pass the first one, they would think we have no desire ever to have any of these. But I would be in favor of them going into certain districts.
today.
So I was gonna say, if the majority of the board is thinking the second resolution, I've got two questions.
Oh, wait, how's the rest of you guys? Are you more in favor of one or two? Because that might be a moot point.
I'm in favor of 2.
Okay, so go ahead, Julie.
Okay. So I know that Trustee Ringel had mentioned the possibility of not including a number in those two placeholders and basically just saying that medical or adult use dispensaries are permitted, and then kind of turning to the zoning. And if the board does not want to insert a specific number or numbers, I would want to get with Michelle here, and we can change this very quickly, but I just want to change
Just
the
a
resolution.
few-minute recess, if that's all
Wait,
right.
now what about, okay, so, so we already prohibited the blanket in 2017, everything, medical marijuana, cultivation, all that stuff. Would we need to repeal that and then pass resolution 2?
That's in resolution 2.
Oh, that is in there?
So in resolution 2, it amends your existing medical marijuana.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. So
Okay, good.
Yep.
Missed that. Okay. And then I don't think we would need, in my opinion, put any limit on the number if we still have time to,
My only concern, when I was looking at the statute, it says that we have the authority to limit the number of. So do we need to actually include some number and not just be able to direct that in the resolution that we want the dispensaries to be in permittingly areas that are zoned to permit it? So do we need a number, even if it's 100?
I think there's an argument that by virtue of prohibiting, the options are prohibit or to limit, and I think that by virtue of prohibiting, there is some value or potential to that you don't need to identify a number. But if the board wants, obviously this is still in the works, and if the board does want to cross all T's, dot all I's, put a specific number, I think you could. The only potential concern I would have is would it surprise the residents to see, like you're saying, 50 medical marijuana dispensaries, that type of thing.
But we don't have to put a limit in, right?
I think we could draft it to not specify a number. I think if you did, and another aspect, if you did want to include a number, you could start low, and you can also amend that. That's the other thing, is that you can amend the number. So,
But we could also amend, we could add a number, and once the zoning resolution changes are done, then we could say, hey, based on this use, and the zoning commission might have some good research they might have some good opinions on this. So there maybe more places there might be more information out there. And maybe we'd say, hey, we only want 5, but I feel uncomfortable adding any kind of number in there right now.
Then do we need to just table it? And we don't have to make a decision today?
If we table it, then there's no moratorium or restrictions at all.
So they could bring anything. Oh, can we just say we're gonna pass the second one. Can we just cut that part out that just says limit to it? Can we just take out pursuant to that section, they limit the number of adult use dispensaries as set forth to a number? Can we just take that sentence out?
Yeah, if we could just take a few minute recess, Julie and I can clean that language.
Now, are we still limiting the adult use cannabis processes or cultivators? They still want to do that? I don't even know if there's space in the township to do that. People growing pot for commercial purposes? Is that what it is? Like a farm?
I think that
It is a farm.
yeah.
But those can be indoor greenhouses.
Can it, if it's indoor, entirely indoor?
What's the
I don't see
objection?
why you couldn't have it indoor
Yeah, you can.
business.
I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think I would want to limit that. I mean, what do you guys think?
If we're going to allow dispensaries for adult use and medical marijuana,
Yeah,
then I think we're being unduly selective when we're allowing certain businesses to operate in this field and not others.
yeah, so maybe take the whole paragraph, but we could take a small break. Is this the last thing on the agenda?
I think it's
That makes sense, yeah.
Do we want to just go into exec and then you guys work on it afterwards and bring it back?
Yeah, I can clean up the language and during exec with Julie and use her time.
Do you need to be an exec?
I will. I will.
We need a recess before
Yeah.
exec starts.
But I do have a question. If we go with this resolution, is this an indirect way to initiate a zoning text amendment, or do I need to pass? Okay. So the next board meeting, I'll ask the trustees to move forward with an amendment if we want to move forward on
That's
this.
smart, yeah.
Okay. I was just trying to get a twofer, but
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to go into the exec, Lisa, I can.
Okay. To make a motion to approve resolution 24057, enter into executive session to conference with the township attorneys concerning a dispute that is the subject of imminent litigation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3. And we're inviting, Ms. Kraft, Ms. Bonnie, Mr. Krumnitzer, Mr. or Ms.
Just legal.
Just legal counsel, right? Okay, legal counsel.
Is it 56?
I mean, it can be 57 and then we can do 56.
Oh, wait, where's 50? Did I miss one? Oh, because we skipped over the American.
We can call it 56 just to keep it.
It's 56.
You want
Or,
the,
what do you think? Yeah, we can, or do you want, you want 56?
Tell me.
Yeah, 56 is fine, because that's sequential.
okay.
Good catch.
So resolution 56 to enter into executive session. And the second, I think.
Second?
Okay.
Mrs. Faust,
Yes.
Mr. Ringel,
Yes.
Ms. Knapp. Yes.
Okay, is this all?
And we have the two resolutions, accept donation and the
Yeah, this process. And which number did you say?
we're 57 to return to regular session.
And then we also have this one, the donation.
So 457 to return, and then,
This will be 58.
58 to return.
And then the
or wait, or 457 to return, or 5057 to return. Is
Yeah.
that right?
and then marijuana will be 58, and then the donation's 59.
Yeah, I have the donation right there.
Okay, all right.
So donations are. And donations
And
are.
adjourn at
It's gonna be 59. And adjournment is 60. We'll keep, oh,
I'm gonna screw this up.
Oh, well,
Okay,
are you-
okay, I'm ready.
you ready to get back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve resolution 24-057, return to regular session?
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Okay, so next we are doing, okay. This is 058, is that right? Yeah. for
Yes.
the- Okay.
For medical and adult use marijuana.
Okay, so this resolution will limit, it will repeal our medical use and cultivation, let's see, moratorium. It will repeal that, but then it will also limit it, medical and retail dispensaries. It will limit it to where it's provided for in the zoning resolution, which doesn't provide for it currently. So it's in effect a moratorium until the zoning resolution is
is approved, the change is correct. So this is kind of the effect of it is a kind of a temporary moratorium until we figure out how we want to put it in the zoning resolution and where it should be located. All right, so I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-058, a resolution limiting medical marijuana and adult use cannabis operators, cultivators, dispensing and processing pursuant to sections 3796.29 and 3780.25 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have to read this?
No.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
No?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Next is
the donation. Excuse me. I make a motion to approve Resolution 24-059, acknowledge and accept donation of 55 cubic yards of compost from Joshua Doffenbaugh of Price Farms Organics Limited for the community garden site at 7126 Blue Holly Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. And is that it? Is there anything else?
That is it.
Let's see.
Just a adjournment resolution. That would be number 60.
60. Okay, make a motion to approve Resolution 24-060, meeting adjournment.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. Motion, meeting adjourned.